Okay, so today's project is to fix something that may or may not be my fault. It probably is my fault, but while I'm fixing this, I wanted to talk a little bit about BMWs that are out of warranty, maintenance. It seems to be one of the most common comments I get on any post I ever make on Instagram, Facebook, any video I make in the comments. Somebody's invariably talking about warranties, BMWs and service problems, and so I figured I'd give you my take on it and what my experience has been. This is less than an opinion and more of, I've owned quite a few BMWs now over the last, since I guess 2010, so the last 9 years, almost 10 years, and have I own 3 of them that are all technically out of warranty. And so I figured I'd give you my take on that while I fix this issue that I probably created myself, but could be a faulty fan. But we're gonna work through it. One thing I just realized is how the heck did I let this happen? I've had this car this long, and I got stickers on the engine bay area here. That's no good. I don't like stickers, and I don't like badges. People always give me a hard time for taking off stickers and badges, but I like it better clean. So here's what happened with this car, and I got really lucky on this. I feel pretty fortunate because I was having, then it's become progressively worse, and it started in the summer. And so I'd be driving the car, and when the fan would kick on, it was pretty clear to me it was the fan. When it would kick on, I'd feel like a vibration in the seat of my pants. And then I guess it was 3 weeks ago, the fan, when I went out to do an exhaust video of the new intake and capture some sound, I ended up, the car was shaking like crazy. So the fan rarely kicks in on and turns on high. And so what I thought it had something to do with the underdrive pulleys that I did. Well, apparently taking these stickers off is not going to be as easy as I thought. So I thought the underdrive pulleys were the problem, or were going to be the problem. And so, I drove home distraught that I'm going to have to tear this thing apart. And luckily, while I was kind of looking at the fan, I'm just kind of looking in here, I happened to stick my finger in the right spot. And I'll show you the fan here, and we'll obviously show you when we take this apart where it's broken. But the fan is a big circle, and one of the pieces between the blades broke. And so what's happening, I thought it was an issue with the underdrive pulleys not allowing enough current to power the AC system or something. I wasn't sure what was causing it. Well, it was just simply vibration, because when this fan gets going in high RPMs and the piece is broken, the fan is just wobbling and out of balance. So good news is I figured it out without, I was going to take the underdrive pulleys off and start tearing the car apart and hopefully not having to go to the dealer, but I was going to have this big, long, drawn-out process to try to figure out what the issue was. So I got lucky, and I just did one of these, say, oh shoot, there's the issue, the fan, the tooth, there's a tooth that's broken off here, and so simple issue is buy a new fan. Which leads me to my next conversation. We'll get some Tarex and get these stickers off the rest of the way here. But the question is, do you go to a dealer, which I try to avoid at all costs, or do you try to fix it yourself? And is this my fault, or is this a warranty issue? And so this is the very first problem I've ever had. Now, I've had an E92 M3 now for, I haven't had a lot of mileage. My 2010 or 2011 that I bought had 15,000 miles when I traded it for my Carrera S. So I had not one issue, not one problem. I'd actually gone to the dealer. I did my trick where I palmed the guy $100 ahead of time because these cars are infamous for being ragged out by the dealers because, or not the dealers, but the techs. Because in order to get a reading on oil, you have to go drive it for like 30 minutes or longer. And so they go out and beat the crap out of your car. And so I always palmed the guy a hundo and said, hey, put the oil in, give me an extra liter or extra quart, and I'll top it off myself. And so I've always had a good relationship with the dealer by, palming the service tech money, palming the service underwriter money, or service writer, not underwriter, and then palming the tech, asking them to talk to the tech up front, and then kind of befriending them and telling them how much I love my car, and they usually are cool with that. I don't want to go to the dealer if I don't have to, but I've had no issues with any BMWs. All this bull crap about rod bearings and throttle actuators and all of that stuff is, you know, is a potential problem, but every single car on the planet, it seems, has potential issues that you have to deal with. And it's part of the ownership experience. So I wanted to talk a little bit about warranties and owning a car out of warranty while I'm fumbling through this fixing of the fan. So the reason why I say this might be my fault is I took this fan out in order to do Dynan's underdrive pulleys. So you have to take the fan out. So it's possible that while I was, you know, removing the fan, that I, you know, jarred it a little bit too much and broke a piece or caused that to break quicker. It's also possible that the fan just kind of wore out. I mean, the car only has 34,000 miles, so I find it easier to believe that I messed it up versus, you know, it being a faulty part. So I guess you could blame it on me for doing that. But in general, if it was a warranty issue and this was out of warranty, I tend to not fight with dealers. I tend to not chase. Now, this is I'm fortunate in that I'm somewhat well off. I'm able to afford this car. I'm able to spend $1,200 when I need to fix something. In this case, this fan was $808. That's kind of a stinger, right? So I got this plastic fan I'm gonna have to remove, and it cost me $808. Plus whatever it costs to ship. I got it from getBMWparts.com. The other option would be, if I didn't have the resources that I have here, or have at least some mechanical skills, I may have to take this to the dealer to get done, and it would probably cost, I think retail on this fan is probably $1,200 or $1,300, and then they're probably going to charge you at least several hours labor to do this. So, you're looking at a $1,600, $1,800, $1,900 fix to replace this fan. And so I get how that could be problematic. But my question is, how often does this kind of stuff even happen? I think there's only one screw on this, if I remember correctly. But I'm probably gonna have to pull my box off, which I wanted to try to avoid. I might be able to just lift it up if I just take these two. I probably shouldn't get lazy with my fancy plenum here. So, the question a lot of people have is, do you buy a warranty on your BMW? And my answer to that is absolutely, positively not. And here's why. It's kind of like, where do you draw, my question is, where do you draw the line of buying warranties and insurance? So let's talk about life insurance for a second. How much life insurance do you buy? And then how do you let your life insurance go as you replace it with assets? So, let's say theoretically I have, I need, in order to replace my, my needs for my family, let's say I needed $2 million of life insurance to replace my income or my future income. But then what happens if I have $1 million, 10 years from now? Then I probably would want to drop off some of that life insurance. So, I don't think you should be paying for something that you don't need. And so same thing happens with insurance on your car, same thing happens with insurance when we're talking about warranties. So, it's great that the car comes with a warranty. It's great when something breaks and it's paid for, but how much money over your lifetime are you going to pay for warranties to not have to pay this, in this case, this $800? And then the other problem with a warranty is a warranty isn't going to allow me to fix it myself, so now I have to go to the dealership. And this is going to take me an hour or so to fix, knock on wood somewhere. So in Matty hours, that means it's going to take me 4 hours to fix. But how many hours would it take me to drive down to Orlando or up to Ocala and then have to sit there and wait for somebody to fix this thing for me? And then generally what happens is something else gets screwed up, and I hate my life. Hate having to deal with it. So what does a warranty cost on a car like this? I mean, $3,200, $3,400, $5,000, depending on how long you extend it. What does it cost versus what is this repair going to cost me? And of course, what are the odds of, let's say that I have 10 cars over the next 8 years, or 10 cars over the next 10 years in my case, probably 20 cars over the next 10 years. What are the odds that, you know, if let's say I bought a $3,500 warranty, extended warranty on every single car, what are the odds of me getting my money back on that versus just coming out of pocket for paying for things like this where I have an issue with a fan that needs to be replaced. I'm gonna have to take this box off. So that is the question. That's the conundrum. And for me, I just have a hard and fast rule. I just don't do it. I just don't buy warranties. Even on, you know, the M5 is very likely I'm gonna have a $2,000 or $3,000 bill at some point of something that's going to break that I'm gonna have to fix. And you know, a warranty on that car is probably $4,000 or $5,000 for a couple of years. I think I'd rather roll the dice of that one possibility that once in my life I'm going to have an $8,000 or $9,000 repair, you know, or you know, hopefully never, but the possibility of a blown engine. But if I'm spending $4,000 on every car that I own from here until forever, and I, you know, just to alleviate that one possibility of having an expensive repair, I think if you find yourself needing to buy those warranties all the time, then you probably can't and shouldn't be splurging for the car. You know, so it may be a car that's outside of your reach. If you can't swing the $800 to replace the fan on an E92 M3, you probably shouldn't buy one, is my advice to those of us who, and I'm one that always wants a car that's outside of your reach. And then, you know, the thing that stinks is when you have like a major repair that takes a lot of time and energy. In this case, this should be pretty easy. So in my experience, you know, I haven't had a lot of really bad issues with BMW or really any car that I've owned. And so maybe I'd have a little different opinion if my experience was different. Can't remember if there's another screw. I think I got to take this whole box out, so I might as well stop postponing the inevitable here. Yeah, I didn't want to take this off, but I guess it's easy enough to remove this, or remove the air box, pull the fan out, pop the new one in, call it a day. So I think a lot of this whole warranty discussion and, you know, issues with any car comes down to affordability. You know, can you, if you're buying a warranty, a $4,000 or $5,000 warranty on a monthly payment, or adding it to your monthly payment, it's kind of like buying a house and paying mortgage insurance. Maybe you should wait a little while and not buy that house so soon. It just, you know, I think you want to do this a little bit more intelligently than, and I know we all want cars that nobody wants to wait. I certainly don't. But I'm having to deal with these warranty things more now than before because I don't like the new versions of the cars. I like the old versions better. And having fumbled with these things for several years now gives me an advantage as well because I kind of know how they go together. Even being, you know, a self-described, no, I'm not a great mechanic. Thank goodness I'm not a great mechanic because I don't know how anybody could do this all day. Those of you who work on cars all day, every day, man, more power to you. God bless you. I only do it recreationally when I feel the need, like today. So I should be able to just pop this box out, make it easier than me trying to yank it. Okay, so there's the air box. Okay, so now we can see we've got all kinds of access here. I think there was only the one screw, so now I'm pretty sure, so the fan pops out here. Pretty sure this thing just pulls up. There we go. So this is where I likely damaged it's possible that I damaged maybe it was already a brittle fan. Because once again, at 35,000 miles, I shouldn't have this issue. but you can see how it's a bit of a tight fit. Okay. That fan look the same? Yep. So let me show you what's broken here. So here's the fan, and you can see, you know, when this is down in the car, you can't see this section, but see how it's a continuous circle? And so right here, this section is split. And so that when this fan really kicked in, this thing would get really, really wobbly and cause lots of vibration, lots of problems. So I bought a new $800 version of it. So I got to pull some of these pieces off, a retrofit, and put it back in place.
Yeah, what would you be doing?
Well, I'm fixing a fan like I am right now.
Okay, what's that?
I think that's how that goes. Crap, I didn't pay attention to where I took this off. I think I did it backwards. Shoot. I should have just paid attention. So obviously the middle one needs a double. So I think I have these two backwards. No, it's got to be the other way, yeah. So I got to flip these. Okay. Now we've got to try to put this back in, but also reach down to the bottom. And let's try not to, I'm going to try not to break it this time. Okay, so that's almost in place, and then I gotta grab the hoses and put those on the little clamps. So you can see how these can get, the fan can get messed up if you have muscle it in there like I just did. I don't think I can reach that. You wanna put your baby arms in there? So there's a little clip that the hose has to go into that I can't get my hand in there. Oh yeah, look at that. Actually doing a better job on putting it back together this time than realizing a couple of pieces I forgot to put in place when I put it back together after the underdrives. Plug the fan back in. Uh-oh, where'd the wire go? Oh. So that goes there. That's in place. Fan's in. There's the one screw that holds this. I feel like my car's going to be able to have a lot more horsepower now too. Because I got, oh, don't drop that. Please don't drop that. I don't want to turn this into a 3-hour ordeal searching for this screw. Okay. Take this T27, put it in place, and we're done. Put this back together. So, this was again, less, for me, this is less about saving the extra $800 it was gonna cost me to have a dealer do it, and more about, you know, the time, the peace of mind. Of course, some would argue that, you know, a tech is gonna do a better job than I'm gonna do. I guess you could make that argument. But you just don't know, you know. And then they're going to want to go drive it around, and then that's when someone ends up curbing your wheels, or they end up washing your car even though you tell them not to, and then you've got to fix that. And so I just prefer to do this kind of stuff on my own. So like the other day, I changed the battery on the M5, and people were like, well, it was under warranty. I said, but then I've got to drive an hour each way to go to the dealer, sit at the dealer for a couple hours, and have to deal with all of that, all that goes with that. And beg them not to jack up my car and not to wash it. And, you know, I know that a regular person doesn't really care about that, but I do. And so I think that doing it this way is a smarter, at least for me, is a smarter way to deal with small issues like what we're dealing with here. And then occasionally I'm gonna have to spend $800 to fix something. And a lot of times with warranties and me, because I'm always modifying all kinds of stuff, I'm gonna end up having a endless battle anyway, and you know, them telling me that it's my fault. And so, like with the M5, I just bought a new battery for a couple $100. You know, my time of taking 2 hours of my life to go up there, I turn a 4-hour ordeal into a 2-hour ordeal, and that 2 hours is worth something. You know, and in my case, it's a little different because I get to make a video. But, and then sometimes it's fun to fix your own car. Sometimes. Sometimes it's not so fun when it doesn't work out like you planned. Like the fact that we're not done with this yet. And I'm sure I'm gonna screw something up that is gonna cause this 30-minute project and turn it into 3 hours, but so far so good. But I'm feeling good. My M3 is starting to come together. But once I get this all suspension figured out and get all the little quirks done, then I'm gonna go back and address the paint again and deal with the water spots that I have, repaint the trunk, decide if I'm gonna do a full repaint on the car, and figure out what's my next move. I'm gonna have to de-fingerprint this. Obviously this is carbon fiber, so we don't wanna go too tight. That in place, that in place. Make sure nothing's touching here. We don't want any sun joes in any pictures. Top back on. This is being much more uneventful than I thought it was going to be. This is great. Nothing like power lock. It's so good. Then I've got a couple of new pieces for the cowl up there. That's another thing I used to stress about. Now I just realize I can just buy a new piece for not a lot of money. You know, I never wanted to get anything scratched or messed up, and now it's a few bucks you can buy a new piece of plastic or a new screw or nut, and especially with some of the online dealers, getBMWparts and what's that, FCP Euro, where you can get parts very quickly and for not a lot of money. So I think where these cars get a bad rap is that, you know, there is a contingent now where you can buy like a 135i or a 335i, and of course you have the problematic turbo motors like the N54s and stuff like that. But you end up with, you know, there's a connection to when you have paint that's peeling and just janky, and kids are doing weird junky crap to cars, and they're the ones making videos online, and so you get this kind of a reputation that BMWs are always breaking. Well, I think every car that isn't cared for is going to break. So I haven't experienced that with these cars, other than something like what we're dealing with here today. But I have, you know, I get email once or twice a week of somebody saying, hey, I love the E92, but I'm, you know, 24 and I'm afraid of maintenance. And, you know, my comment to them is that, you know, just to do differential, transmission, oil change, oil filter, I mean, you've got, you know, you've got $500, $600, $700 worth of money you got to put into it. So you got to be able to roll those kind of dollars if you're gonna own one of these things. So that's just something to consider. Now, even me as a younger guy, I would, you know, make sacrifices so that I could own one of these. But if you're not willing to do that, then you might be better off with a Honda. Nice. Back. I'm gonna wipe the fingerprints off. While we're doing this video here, I'm gonna pull these apart, and I'm gonna replace these with some new pieces because they're all scratched up from the previous owner. And we're back in business, but let me wipe this thing off. All right, I'm gonna wash my hands. This is where we need Bryce, this is where we need an EDM wipe down scene, slow-mo, 240, whatever. 240 FPS. And then you gotta be like the drop, like blah, you know, whatever they do. If you do that in a video, you're done. So get the fingerprints off. Oh, that thing is so pretty, so pretty. I gotta get the Tarex out, get these stickers off. Should have done that first. This is OptiClean. Again, I don't use detail sprays anymore. If I'm gonna do any kind of cleaning, I'm doing a waterless wash. Tarex is amazing, man. Stuff works great. Get these stickers off. This one's gonna take a little bit more effort. Debadging, bro. This is where, you know, doing these little details, like it was a lot more fun when I had one car, you know, like now I've got all these cars and all this cool stuff going on, and I keep telling myself one M car at a time, and then I go and buy a third one. There is something, so for those of you who are aspiring to own a bunch of cars like I do, I mean, there's such an advantage to the old days of when I had one car and it was my life. You know, so those of you that are in that place in your life, enjoy it. Just don't buy warranties. That's my advice. So Michelle just came over here yelling at me about saying I'm complaining about having too many cars. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if you're young and you're aspiring to have a bunch of cars, enjoy the car that you have, because when you do have a bunch of cars, you lose focus. Like, you can't focus on one car, you're focused on a bunch of them. And there are some advantages to having that, you know, that one car that you love, that, you know, like something like this sticker I'm taking off. I've had this car for, I don't know, 9 months now. I would have gotten this off in the first couple of months. So that's what I'm saying. It's not all that bad when you have one car that you love and you take amazing care of it and you work on little projects with it every weekend. So in some ways I kind of miss those days. I wouldn't go back, trust me. I don't mind having a bunch of M cars that I can choose which one to drive every day, or a, you know, a GT3. I guess we're gonna have former sticker spots. I haven't been able to get that off, so when I polish the car, I might polish this plastic. I just generally don't like to let Tarex sit on anything, just in case. Okay, so now let's take these things off. Molex. So I think I can just take this whole piece off. This one isn't that bad. The other one that's all scratched up, so maybe, let's see which one's broken. It might be best leaving this in there. Well, let's see if we can fix this one, and then, because that does look nicer. I'd like to coat them too. So I'm gonna go over another little life lesson with you, youngians. I'm gonna show you something here that's gonna trigger some people. So I got this piece, brand new, from UCS Tuning, and I opened the box, and this was broken. So what you know, we get this all the time in an Obsessed Garage, where somebody says, "Oh, it's broken, you know, owe me a new one." I'm not gonna call them for this, I'm just gonna fix it. So we're gonna take a nerd soldering iron. I ain't no soldering nerd, but Bryce is. So he's gonna plastic weld this here and fix it. Yeah, so I don't know. You could send this back and get all cranky about it. I don't got time for that. So I'm just gonna fix it and not complain and yell and scream and call them and get them to send me another one and all that crap, when we can very easily fix this. So anyway, just a little tip. So here's why I'm doing this. See how this one's kind of all beat up? So I got a new freshie that I'm gonna transplant over. Nice and clean. This one isn't broken, so I'm gonna put this one in now. Pull out my charcoal filters. So let's not lay this on its face. These are brand new filters, so, or new. They've probably driven 300 miles since I've replaced them. Yeah, fresh and clean, I like that. Nice, it's like brand new. Yeah, so I'm just trying to clean this up. Comparison to see the white one over here. I'm trying to de-white it. Just don't like all this white residue stuff. Trying all kinds of stuff. Right now the best success I've had is with the Swissvax leather cleaner. Getting this cleaned up. Break open a new bottle of CSL. This always turns into a bigger project than I plan. One trick with CSL Don't ever leave this stopper in the bottle if you want to reuse it later. So we figured out that Terminator did the best job. Turning white again, but not counting my chickens. That's a 30-minute project to try to de-white it. How does this thing go on here? I don't even remember how I did this. Like this. That looks sight better. Yeah, I think Tarex is the way to go. Or Terminator, yeah. There we go. Looks a little nicer. All right, so let's put that other piece back on, and we'll coat both of these, and then we'll call this project a wrap. All right, so here's our plastic welded piece, which we'll never see again. And I think this thing goes on. That goes like that. This thing plugs in here. Nice, fresh, and clean. One step at a time. This car's turning into OG spec. Couple of fresh boxes. So we hit these with a little bit of eraser just to get all our fingerprints off from putting them on. I'm gonna hit them with some Crystal Serum Light. And I got some new, fresh, unscratched filter covers. Cowl filter covers. Call this a day. A good day. Till I turn the car on, the fan explodes. I guess the moral of the story here is today is that, yeah, you can deal with warranties and work with your dealership and all of that, but I choose not to. So I think you need to manage the difference between what you can afford and what risk you're going to take. You know, if an engine blows up and it's $40,000, I mean, obviously you're going to be wishing you had a warranty. But the question is, what did you do? Did you do a tune? Are you going to have a legal battle on your hands? You know, what's that going to look like? In most cases, in most instances where you're doing minor bolt-on modifications like I'm doing, I would avoid chasing aftermarket or extended factory warranties and just chalk it up to over the lifespan, over your lifespan, not the lifespan of any specific car, you're going to come out ahead by not purchasing warranties all the time. The other message here is that, you know, BMWs in general, or, you know, German cars or Japanese cars or whatever cars you want to talk about, are not quite as problematic as you read online. You know, yeah, there's certainly going to be maintenance issues. I mean, we just went through one here today. Oh, shoot. It's not the end of the world to spend a few $100 here and there to keep a car maintained. And then I find that if you maintain it often, you won't have as many issues. At least that's been my experience. So I'm sure that based on the title of this video, people are going to lose their crap about warranties and problems, and their brothers, uncles, sisters, brothers, dad had a messed up BMW. But I think, generally speaking, I don't find these cars to be all that much more problematic than any other car outside of maybe get a Japanese car, you know, like a Honda or something like that, that those tend to be pretty bulletproof. The M cars for me have been some of the best cars I've ever owned from a maintenance perspective. So that's the story. I'm sticking to it. Make a little subtle improvements to this car every time I touch it. Hopefully someday I'll have it all dialed in just in time to sell it to somebody else and get something different. But anyway, thanks for watching this one. Hope you don't disagree too much. If you do, I'm sure you'll let me know. I'm not asking you to let me know, but I'm sure you will. And yeah, keep on keeping on, I guess. I don't know what else to tell you. Anyway, as always, stay tuned for more crazy. This car's coming together. Thanks for watching.